And now I have been asked, or it's been pointed out to me, that everything that happens in this world is that God's will, because I've already said it is God's will that everything should happen as it happens. And it's been pointed out to me, and I of course have pointed out at my meetings, the degeneration of everything that is good in our society. The murders, the muggings, the fact that a woman can no longer in any of our cities and walk alone in a park at night. Once she used to be able to. And that the random violence that seems to occur, the incredible lack of what we would call decency that is around in the world, the violence, the beating up of women by men, the beating up apparently of men by women. That seems to be the latest thing I read somewhere or other. All these things must have been there in the past, but we have to know that they were never as bad, as widespread as the violence in our society today. And so when I make these points and try to get everyone to see the utter and complete ignorance and violence in our society, that there is no value in our society whatever, because it makes no difference. Listening to music, for instance, and going and watching the ballet is all very nice from a certain point of view. But what difference does it make to our society? How does it change fundamentally the individual watching the music or watching the ballet? I've pointed out about art. Art today has become a farce today in many respects, that we now have multimedia art. And the latest thing that I saw in Australia before leaving was I went into a complex and there was this horrible looking piece of bent tin and stuff, hanging from the ceiling. And I said, well, what's that? And they said, that's multimedia art. Where the artist does anything at all, gets a can and beats it to pieces and hangs it up and says, well, that's an expression of art. Or something similar. We've gone from the endeavour to express art in some aesthetic or elevating way, some way to elevate the consciousness and I think it has its rise in the latest disgusting phenomenon that the human race has got up to, and that is self-mutilation. Now, no doubt there was natural or normal self-mutilation in the past, done in public or wherever. But today we see boys and girls and youths and that with hairpins through their eyebrow, I wondered what I was seeing the first time I saw this happen in a restaurant. Someone serving in a restaurant and he's got a hairpin through his eyebrow. And then, of course, as I looked around and lately I see women with hairpins through their umbilical cord, the connection with the mother, the connection with life, the safety pin, through the umbilical cord. And then we get women with things through their nipples. And disgraceful, from where I am. But I suppose I've had it, have I? I'm a bit old hat. But being a man of love, the respect for woman and the respect for man, to me it is disgusting. And it shows the lack of love and the lack and the ignorance in our young people. And I don't have to go on much further, do I? Because I was told in Australia by someone who was doing an arts course that they were told that an aspect of art today, it's called contemporary art now, it's not called modern art, you see. We've had modern art, and now it's into contemporary art. And I don't know what it's going to be next month, or next decade, but that there is self-mutilation, the presentation of self-mutilation is part of art today, and of course this is the tortured inner state of the artist, the bending of metals and trying to present the inelegant as something that's elegant and elevating, is the tortured state inside the individual. And so I can look at any piece of art really and see the state or the condition of the artist. You can often tell the condition of the artist by the product, especially today with Impressionism, because the impression that everybody expresses is the impression of their own psyche. It's not the impression of what they're looking at. They only think that. You have an impression of your own psyche, the state of your own psyche, and so you draw that either in colours or form or whatever it is. And so I've talked quite a lot about the degeneration of our society and what a disgraceful level it's reached of violence and lack of God, lack of truth, lack of love, lack of everything. So we become intellectuals. You know, everybody's got to go to the university and get some figures after their name or something. The universities never teach love, never teach truth, never are simple. Everything's complicated, like E equals MC squared. Is there anything more complicated than that for us, ordinary people? No, nothing. You couldn't understand it anyway. So as science is elevated with its theories, which are not the truth, the theory can't be the truth, can it? So everything and complicated, everything's complicated. Bureaucracy is complicated, government's complicated. You can't step in to a government unless you've got to give in to the norm of government, which is compromise. And you can go in there as a crusader, it doesn't matter who you are, and they will drag you down to the level of compromise. And in the police force, I know in our country, and I know in every country, it's precisely the same. What does the young constable do when he joins the police force? Someone comes to him very smartly and hands him £100 or $100 and here says, take this. He says, what for? He says, that's your share. What my share of what? Your share of the take. You know, we get the sling for looking after the clubs and the prostitutes and that. We get the sling and all of us in it take a cut from it. Now what does he do? If he says, I'm not going to touch it, and this is every police force, your very famous Scotland Yard is not so famous where I come from, because I remember the countrywide, 20 years ago, the countrywide investigation into the corruption in Scotland Yard. And it was so corrupt that the minister himself, because I was here, said, all reports, everything must come direct to me, to the minister, no to any of the commissioners of those, direct to me, to the minister. Well, we never heard the result of it. It didn't get through. So the young constable, what's he going to do? If he doesn't join them, they're going to pillory him. They're going to ignore him. They're going to give him the treatment all the time. You know what that's like in any job. Or if he joins them, he goes against what he knows it is to be, try to be a good policeman. What can he do? Well, every attempt at ever trying to turn your back on the system results in the destruction of the individual. What can you do? What can you do in such a society? Where in our country, in our police force, where we've just had another royal commission, you know, they're always having royal commissions, never come to anything, but this one did. And it exposed out of the 3,000 policemen there, the estimate was made that 2,300 of them were somehow or other on the take. That's not bad, is it? It wasn't proved, but that was the general indication as they toppled from the front down, from the deputy commissioner, and everyone toppling and toppling. And they were able to sack a few too. And what's more, they wanted a new commissioner because you couldn't trust promoting anyone in our police force or in yours. You can't trust them because they're part of the system. So what did they do? The government had the good thought of bringing in an Englishman. He was director of traffic or something up in Birmingham or somewhere, but it doesn't matter. He looks like he's a pretty straight guy, so they brought him in and made him commissioner. And he's still battling away there, of course, and they're undermining him in the police force and doing everything they can to get rid of him. But the minister's quite staunch, fortunately for a change, in supporting him. And they've been able to sack a few of the leading detective sergeants and the assistant commissioners and things. They've fired them. And of course the police force union is up in arms because it is disgraceful to sack our people just because they made a few misdemeanors. This sort of thing. Anyway, you get the message, don't you? You've got no hope in politics. It's corrupt. Well, you've found that out recently, I think, in your own experience. It's always the same. There's only corruption in the police force, except that the ones that do, they do a good job, and everyone else. But there's corruption right through our society, and that's because of us, because of the people, because they can only reflect what is in the people. So with all this degeneration, I've been asked, is God in charge? Surely God, you say that God's in charge of everything. Surely then God is doing this. And that'd be a fair enough question our children would ask, wouldn't it? Then God must be doing all this. And my reply is this. In the beginning, which is inside of each one of us, and I'm going back into a mythical past, which is inside of us, which is more true than any scientific version of some sort of historical past. In the beginning, when in the mythic beginning of man and woman, or man and the earth, a God or the great creator in this myth has said to man something like what's in the Old Testament. Look, I give you dominion over the entire earth, which I have provided for you, a garden that I've given you. And I give you dominion over everything that's in it. And it's up to you. I give you the power to make a life for yourself and your ancestors, forget the other way around anyway, your children, and I give you the power to make a life and make a world, and I will not interfere. But I will be behind it all. I will be the perimeter that holds it all together, no matter what you do. I will make it work because I am the integrity behind you. But you can have your free will to do as you wish to do with the earth, the paradise that I have given you. So man said, okay, that's fair enough. So man went out, and through his lack of love of woman, his greed, his selfishness, his violence, he made this world. And that's why it's degenerating, because everything is made by man in this world. And everything that man makes hurts somebody, destroys somebody, and destroys the general environment of love and life and truth, and especially God. And so we have the wars, we have the misery, the wretchedness of abuse and violence. We have the muggings and the murders. It seems that everybody carries a knife these days and the other person gets it in the chest You know, you'd wonder does everybody carry knives? You know, is it like that? Any rate, that's what happens. Random violence. And man has made this, you see, through his lack of love, through his lack of anything of value. He has nothing of value except his museums. They're about the best thing. He's got a value, and that's all things filled with the past. What a collection of stuff it is. All the museums are stuffed with collections of the past. What about the present? Nothing to signify the present, except the degeneration of our lives and our system. So man has made the roads on which people are killed every day. Man has made the motor car which kills people every day. Man has made the M16, I think it is, and all the A47s and all the other things. Man has made the landmines. Man has made everything that is destructive of life and love and truth and God, and called it progress. Well, it's progress, all right. It is progress. And you ain't seen nothing yet. Because over the years, it's not going to... Don't think that he's just given up, that the scientists have given up. The scientific ignorance is given up by just cloning. What was it, a sheep, wasn't it? Don't think they're just going to give up there. Don't worry about the raised arms of alarm and horror that it will never be allowed to be made into human beings. Don't worry about that. That's precisely what they have in mind. And they are going to make men and women, clone men and women. They're going to do that. Oh, it might take 100 years. Probably not 100. Really, the speed we're going. But they're going to do it. You know, they're going to do it because they've got to have slaves, you see. We've got to have slaves. We've given up slavery. We've used women as slaves, and they don't seem to be so good at that these days. So we've got to have slaves. So we'll invent some male and female fleshly mechanical slaves, and especially for sex. Ah, yes, man will invent woman for sex, and he will be able to have sex with her at any time and not even have to pay like the prostitute. You know, it won't even be a real woman, but it will be. You know, all those sort of diabolical things which are unthinkable at present, he is going to do, because everything that he does leads to disaster and the degradation of love and truth, and particularly woman and his own nobility. So, amongst all this mayhem and this disaster, you ever wonder, with the wars, you know, and everything, and communism and capitalism and fighting and all that, did you ever wonder, how does it all hang together? How does men get up to such disgraceful activities of germ warfare, atom bombs, whatever he invents, how does it still hang together? Well, it hangs together because no matter what he does, the great God, the most high creator, the most inexpressible power behind the whole thing, existence, the power behind existence, the power behind you, the power behind me, the power behind the flowers, the power behind the hall, the power behind the clouds, the power behind the entire existence. It says, I am the integrity that holds it all together. I never interfere. Never. For I have given man the free will to do precisely as he wants to or is moved to. But I am here. I will hold it together. And you can reach me only in stillness, only in silence, and only by giving up your self, which is what runs this world, man's self. And when I say man, now man has made woman like himself. So the both of them are creating this world. And I, the creator, will never interfere, but I will hold it together, and no matter what you do, no matter what wars you do, no matter what atom bombs you drop, and you ain't seen nothing yet, don't think that the atom bomb's gone away. It's only because the media is not thinking about it just now. But you watch that Middle East, be very careful, because the Middle East is a place where the atom bomb is likely to be tried out by some idiot. It hasn't gone away because it's there, but it's the media that's gone away. And we live off the media. We have no source of information except the media. And I was very pleased to read the other day that Rupert Murdoch, who tells us what we know, he's mostly our source of information, is getting more irritable in his old age. Well, that means he's probably getting tired of it, He's probably, at his old age, he's probably getting a bit of wisdom, What's it all about, for goodness sakes? And he's getting irritable with the job or with the people and things. And sooner or later, if he's got any sense of being his own being, he'll just retire up to some beautiful island or somewhere where it's nice and quiet and leave it to him. But he's the source of most of our information, along with the actors and the singers. Otherwise, where are we going to get the information from? Nowhere. So we don't know the truth of the police force, we don't know the truth of politics, we don't know the truth of anything except what those journalists and people tell us. So really, we're terribly misinformed. And man has made all this. And the point that I'm making is that God holds it all together. But God, it is not God's will. It is God's will that man have the freedom to do as he pleases with this experiment, which is only an experiment, isn't it? It doesn't last, does it? 70 years. You're gone. The earth does not exist. Your mother and father don't exist. Nothing exists. It's all over. Everything you can ever remember is gone. So it doesn't matter much. But somehow or other it has an effect on a place just inside your body called the vital world. Now the vital world is a refinement of the psychic world. There's the psychic world here. But there's the vital world here. And the vital world is the world of your own being. And your own being directs your life and is in charge of the bringing of it all together in cooperation with all the other lives. That's the vital being and the vital world. And whatever you do is registered in the vital world. Every single bit of your life is registered in the vital world. And the important thing about the vital world is the more that you can be true to life, can be true to love, can be steadfast in the burdens that you must carry, the more that you can show or reveal a perception of life that's not materialistic, that knows that it has the intimation of something greater behind it all, the more you light up your own light in the vital world, the light of consciousness. So, I'm often asked, does man have free will? Well, that's the answer. Man has free will. He has free will to fuck up everything, right? But do I have free will? No, you're part of man's plan. You're part of man's plan. You will do precisely. You will drive along the road. You will buy a car. You will buy the newspapers. You will believe. You will vote for the politics, the democracy that he's invented. You'll do everything just like I do because you are part of man's free will to just contribute to progress and to the disaster that ruins life and love and truth. So that's the existential part of it, you see. But it doesn't last because you're going to die. And that's the end of it. So it's a wonderful experiment, isn't it? But is it an experiment? Does it really exist? Does it really exist? If I disappear and everything disappears, like in deep dreamless sleep, the closest I can get to death with you, where's your children? Where's your house? Where are all your problems? They just don't exist. And say you were to die in that state, in deep dreamless sleep. Who's to know? Who's to know? Forever nothing. No world, no memory, nothing. So we get pretty worked up about this existential experiment, don't we? And it's quite right that we do, because we are part of this. And what this great creator is saying is, you can reach me, I am behind it all, but if you want to continue with the materialistic and ignorant ways of man, then you're not going to reach me. You're going to reach your own self. And you know where that leads. You'll just end up dying, and you won't have any real knowledge at all. But if you go still, if you get rid of the human condition as much as you can, the more you get rid of it, the more you can have the intimations of me. And you know where me is. You know where the intimations of me, my own being, which is the God, which is the truth. So the spiritual life is the turning back on the great wave of progress which is smothering everybody. And I have to turn against this progress and not take it seriously. And yet at the same time take it seriously to see what it is doing to life, to the value of life, leaving nothing behind it of any value whatever. I have to go against that stream, against all the people who convince me that the materialistic life is the way of things, is the best thing. I have to go against that in the spiritual life. Those who think I'm mad, I have to go against those. I have to endeavour to reach this creator, this being, which surprisingly is just inside of me, as long as I can get rid of them. The man in me, the thinker in me, the wanter in me, the trier in me. If I can only dissolve that, then there's no problem. I am then in the intelligence and being of the Creator, the first principle, life. Okay, well.
Talking about progression, the worse things.
Press, yes.
What you describe in your tape, the end of the world, was preferable.
I forget what I said there.
Well, the big wipeout.
The big wipeout, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
The survivors would have...
perhaps come to their senses. Perhaps they will, Yes, I described the big wipeout that's going to happen in one way or another. Because of progress, you've got to progress somewhere. And at any rate, in my Origins book, you see it described how that's likely to happen. And why it's likely to happen. But again, not everyone can be wiped out, because the great Creator will not allow it to be destroyed. But perhaps if 95% of the human race was wiped out, perhaps the 5% would come to their senses and start to build a different life, not allowing anyone who proposes anything of the past to contribute to it. A very, imaginative at this stage start, but the only thing that brings us to our senses is death, or loss. You know terrible loss, doesn't it? And doesn't it bring us to our senses? Doesn't it have even the greatest materialist saying, God help me? But we've got so many places to flee to today, haven't we? We can go to the pictures, we can have a drink, we can have a drug, we can do anything. We can go to Australia, or we can go to America, or we can go to England, or somewhere we can always go to. But imagine if you couldn't go anywhere, if there was nowhere to go. Oh yes, terrible thing, because then man realizes he's got nothing. And then he could come to his senses and find that he has got something in another place within. But still, that's all, what's that word? Epicultural? No, what is it? No. Yes, that's the word. What's the word? Yeah, apocalyptic, isn't it? But you'll always hear the masters talking about the apocalypse. You'll always hear it. Because man has chosen his own way towards devastation. Okay, anyone want to ask me a question? Yes, please.
Yeah, Barry, the way you just described that was man, creation of the world, etc. Well, I have to say, it paints a very bad picture once again of man. I think it's, once you look at it as ignorance rather than evil, and the divine will, being the divine will, knows the end of time anyway, otherwise it wouldn't be the divine will. So surely it's the individual man, not men as a population, the individual man who's got to make a change and align his will with the divine will as best he can.
That is so. That's the only way out. But it's not going to save the masses. The masses are intent on their own destruction, aren't they? They're intent on their own ignorance. Only the individual man and woman can possibly do anything about it.
Yes, there is only man. There's only one man. What I'm saying is that the one man's life, or rather the one man's will, would align with the divine will ultimately, no matter how long it takes, and no matter how much ignorance man has to go through, he will ultimately come back in line through the self-reflective capacity to take his place with the divine will, created in the image of the divine will, which he was created.
I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's true. I think man's ignorance, as we see it reflected in progress, is forever. So I do see that death gets rid of everybody and returns them back to where they came from. So that's one way out of progress. The other way is, as you say, for the individual man or woman to go out the other way within and unite with the divine will, and then it's done. As far as he or she is concerned, it's done. And all the rest of it is a background thing that's going on.
Yeah, that's the only way, what I'm suggesting is that that's the only way it can be done, is to do it here, or you wait until you're done, and then it's done for you anyway.
Yeah, well.
To purify my life of ignorance while I'm in the body now,
Yeah.
then surely that's my aim.
That is your aim, and that's your spirit. That's why you're a spiritual man, isn't it? The spiritual life is to purify yourself, isn't it?
Well, indeed, and I mean, I'd say the rest of the stuff going on in the world is as a result of ignorance, not evil.
Oh, I didn't use the word ignorance. Evil, it's all due to ignorance, but it causes misery and wretchedness and more ignorance in the people. And that's all not evil. The only evil is sex. You know, that's the only evil. Sex is against love.
That itself is ignorance.
Yeah, sex is ignorance, yes, but it can be evil because it concentrates on power over another, and also pain that causes another pain. So that's the description of evil, really. But yes, so we're here, of course, to go out the other way, and in the midst of all the distractions and the belief in the newspapers and the wars, we have to sort of see through that and just say, well, all that matters is here. That's what matters, because there's only one I in the universe, and I am that. Good. Okay, so yes, sir.
Is there any purpose behind all this?
Is there any purpose behind it? Well, the purpose is only here now. The purpose is only here now. Any other purpose may be revealed to us later, but the purpose is here now. And what we're doing now has got purpose as far as we can know anything. And the purpose is to get rid of that which causes ignorance and violence, my emotion and my lack of love. Now, we have to admit in the world that lack of love causes wretchedness and pain to others, lack of love, and therefore that would be sex. And to get rid of that, in me and my negativity, my emotions, my violence, my anger, my jealousy, my resentment, my competitiveness, to get rid of all that stuff, which is emotional. And then what's left? Well, there's a purity in us that's left that connects immediately, as far as I am concerned, with the Most High or the Most Deep or that Creator or whatever it is. And that's the only impediment to us. Okay?